Hello, my name is Ashley. I'm with the Clinton Public Library. Today I am bringing you some articles from our local history room. I'm currently up in our teen department because we have some researchers in our genealogy room right now, so I didn't want to disturb them. So I have some articles I picked out from the year 1917, and these came from the Clintonian. And the first one that I have is from September 28th, 1917. Concert tonight. This is the night of the final concert by Mr. Fife and his party. The Lincoln program is the attraction. Robert S. Fife will impersonate the great emancipator tonight. The program gives place to the impersonation in the first half, and in the second half, the concert numbers by the Fife Brothers Orchestra, male trio, reader, vocal, and instrumental soloists. The program has a patriotic ring, and because of the fine impression made last Friday night, a record attendance is expected. The program will begin on the dot. A crowd of men that almost filled the basement of the Methodist Church enjoyed the big feed served by the 70 women Thursday night for the 99 men. The newspaper in the year 1917 looked a little bit different than it does today. They had a personal and social column where they would just news from around town. So this article is from October 1st, 1917, and it's about some of the residents in Clinton. Personal and social. Mr. and Mrs. James Boatman spent Sunday with Mrs. Boatman's brother, Ed Bishop, and his wife at Libertyville, Illinois. Mr. and Mrs. Ed Sanders and son and Mr. and Mrs. Anton Stringfellow visited their relatives at Fountainette Sunday. Mr. and Mrs. W.C. Clout and son Donald and Mrs. Clout's mother, Mrs. James Clover, spent Sunday evening in Terre Haute, where they attended shows. Mrs. Rose Clover, widow of the late James Clover, moved to Clinton Saturday from the farm, where she has lived since the death of her husband a few months ago. Mrs. Clover will live with her daughter, Mrs. W.C. Clout, until her new home on Nebaker Street is completed, which will be about November 1st. Mrs. Clover's new home will be a 7-room modern bungalow. Mrs. Frank Madison of Walnut Street was a Terre Haute visitor Saturday. This next article was in the newspaper from October 4th, 1917, and it really isn't about Clinton, Indiana, but it was an article about Mark Twain that I found somewhat entertaining. So here it is. This is Mark Twain on George Eliot. Mark Twain was very outspoken in his comments on books. He did not like George Eliot's novel, and in a letter to W.D. House written back in 1895 and published in Harper's Monthly, he says, "I bored through Middlemarch during the last week with its labored and tedious analysis of feelings and motives, its paltry and tiresome people, its unexciting and uninteresting story, and its frequent blinding flashes of single-sentence poetry, philosophy, wit, and what-not, and nearly died from overwork. I wouldn't read another of those books for a farm. I did try to read one other, Daniel Deronda. I dragged through 3 chapters, losing flesh all the time, and then was honest enough to quit and confess myself that I haven't any romance literature appetite, as far as I can see, except for your books." Next, I wanted to share some ads that was placed in the newspaper. These both came from September 28th, 1917. And I just like looking at them and going through the prices, the different things that were available then. So I will leave you with those adverts, and we will see you next week for This Week in History. Thank you.